I went on a 2-month trip to Crete in Greece and I packed way too many art supplies. Paints, inks, pencils, crayons, markers, brushes, and handmade sketchbooks. And as if that wasn't enough, in Greece I also bought more sketchbooks, more paints, and even pigments to make my own watercolors. So did I really need all of that? And why I just couldn't stop myself from buying even more? Give this video a thumbs up if you just recognized yourself, and let's dive in. So let's start with the watercolors, and I took many of them in tubes as well as in pens, and for the most part they don't repeat each other except for this thing. And here I used to have some neon children's watercolors, and they were quite good actually, surprisingly. But when I almost finished it, I just emptied it and thought it's a really convenient way to have a small palette. And here I'm actually putting my core watercolors for convenience. It was a set, the high chroma set. Here it is. I really wanted to try core, and that was my first and for now only attempt to do so. I bought them actually in Vienna, and I have a video on my channel about that trip. Their art shops are really huge. I was like a kid in a candy shop, and so far I am happy with them and using them just like this. So I also took some Schmincke Horadam. I have 2 granulating ones and 1 convenience mix of green. I have here 4 of Rembrandts. It's a Dutch professional watercolor brand. So far really liking these 2. These are a bit questionable. Also I got the mixing set by Daniel Smith that has both cool and warm tones. I also swatched them in my previous video, check that one out. For Daniel Smith I also took 5 out of the 6 full tubes that I have, including Moonglow, Lunar Blue, Rose of Ultramarine, and a couple of greens. I took 1 of PBK 11 by Pinox, Potter's Pink from Winsor Newton, and Payne's Grey Sennelier. So now let's talk about the full pens. I took 1, 2, 3, and 4. These both I got from Temu, and for travel purposes and to do some mixing, I think they're just fine. They're not the best ever, and you need to put something on the bottom to make it stick. Most of my pens are from White Nights and some are from Rosa, and these half pens are refilled from tubes. But I must say I discovered that I like paints right from the tube much more, so I'm trying to use this up. And most of the ones I had I did use up, but not all of it. This one was sold as a pencil holder, pen and pencil holder, but I found that here the 2 rows of full pens fit almost perfectly. And this one is actually a box from Schmincke Super Granulation watercolors. But again, when I saw that it fits 2 rows perfectly, I thought it's basically great for travel purposes. Did I need all of these colors? I must say I didn't specifically need them. The first factor for me is that just, you know, when you come to your table to paint something, yes, you can get overwhelmed by seeing all of this, but you can also get inspired. You see something like, oh, I really wanted to work with this color. Then you just take it, and you have, for example, some basics, which I have here, like the ultramarine, phthalo blue, the essential yellows, essential reds. And then I already know that I can make something out of it. So I just put literally everything a bit further away on my table and just work with this. But otherwise, if I just took, for example, a couple of colors that I really love, let's say like this, and then this set, I could also be fine, but I feel like I would have sort of FOMO, like that I'm missing out something, that, oh, if only I took that color, or if only I took that. So I took just enough for me to have this freedom of choice and have the inspiration, and I definitely don't regret it. And this one, by the way, is also from Temu. I really like this brush. The end by now is a bit crooked, as you can see, but the hot water will fix it because it's not natural hairs. So next up is gouache, and I actually bought it on Crete, so I didn't try it before. I only had this white designer gouache from Talons. And I didn't buy any watercolors because in the local shops they only had student grade watercolors, and I already have quite a big collection of professional ones. But I did really want to try gouache, and this is what they have almost in every shop. I decided to start with the mixing set once again. So as you can see, white goes the fastest, and the set has phthalo blue. And by now I know that I just love ultramarine, hadn't even swatched it yet. But this set I already did, and later I will show you some in my sketchbooks together with the watercolor works. Next up is acrylics, and I do love my acrylics at home in big tubes, but for this trip I wanted to focus mostly on watercolors, but I also needed the flexibility of having acrylics with me. And the art creation ones are student grade. I bought them some time ago, probably 1 year ago. They are really convenient for traveling and for doing some quick sketches. And I also have a set of Expert Series acrylics to try them out by Amsterdam. It's the same Royal Talons. But in the local shops, they actually had a really good price on big tubes of Amsterdam paint. So I decided to buy some. Had to restrict myself not to buy too much because they are quite heavy. They are not just small watercolor tubes. These are 120 milliliters. Now to acrylic inks, and just they are not very convenient to take with you because they are glass and they are relatively heavy. But right before the trip, maybe 1 week or two, my local shop in Sofia had a sale on them and I wanted to try them since forever. So I got 5 tubes, and after just playing with them for a day, I fell completely in love with them. So I just had to take them on my trip. I thought like I need to explore this, I need this. I ended up not using them so much because I decided to just focus on one medium, on watercolor. But I'm still happy I did take them, because for sure if I didn't, I would be running my head in circles that I could have been using them. They are just so fun. Why didn't I take them? So I had the space and I took them, and I don't regret it. I also had these inks from Montmartre set. It's an Australian student grade brand. They are relatively good. I would say they are much more opaque and less pigmented than the Dalerani. But it was my first experience with acrylic inks. I just wanted to even see the material, like what effects it can produce. And I must say I didn't fall in love with them, although some of the colors are really nice, like for example sap green. So that just proved to me that even if you're just testing out the material, you better go for something higher quality. Just get a limited number of colors so you don't overinvest before you know if this material is right for you or not. Especially the white one, I found that it's a bit too liquid and too transparent, and from white you always expect that it will be more opaque. Also, the Montmartre acrylic is supposed to even have 3 stars of Lightfastness, which is not very common for student grade art supplies. And I did my own Lightfast tests. I am still doing it, and so far in 4 months only the yellow from the set started to lose the color. That's why I did not take it on a trip, because I knew it's not Lightfast. And of course I got the Dalerani one, so that's my yellow for now. And one ink that I bought in Greece is white, because I didn't like this white, so I thought I'm gonna try something more expensive. Amsterdam from Talons, but I don't know, maybe something's wrong. Was it in the shop? No matter how much I shook it, it remained kind of clumpy. It is really opaque, but maybe it was stored not very well. Now, acrylic markers. These 3 I had with me, and these 4 I bought in Greece. So this one I bought back in Thailand. It is some sort of a Thai brand, just your standard white acrylic marker, but I must say the tip got really bad. Otherwise it is a decent ink inside. And I had 2 of the Poscas, and I really like the wide tip. And I must say Posca remain some of my favorites. I really love these colors. Then I also wanted a beige one with a small tip, and again Posca, just great. And these three I wanted to test them out, to check them out, because Posca didn't have these colors with a white tip in the shop. And the price is actually maybe like 20-cent difference between Posca and these ones. And you can see there's quite more ink in these ones, at least supposed to be more. But I must say I'm a bit disappointed with the tip. It got quite fluffy quite fast. So next time I must say I will not be buying any other brand other than Posca. I tried with a couple of different ones now, and I can see the price difference is negligible, but Posca performs so much better. Next, pencils, and this set I bought some time ago in Vienna just because of the packaging, I must say. But I did not take any pencils of this brand. Some Derwent charcoal pencil, another charcoal that I got in Thailand, a small set of German Albrecht Dürer Lightfast pencils. They are watercolor pencils. Can't say I use them much, but I do sometimes like to play with them. I also have this couple of Derwent drawing, and they are really nice and soft, one of my favorites. I have a small set of luminance. Of course, I bought them all individually, and you can already see which ones were my favorite. I have one Derwent Intense, and it's a really cool pencil. Sorry that it's dirty, but how I used it, I just used it to flick some drops with a brush. And I have tinted charcoal pencils. I really like to use them with watercolors to make lines, and I will show you a bit later when I'm gonna be showing you my sketchbooks. Again, you can already see that some are used up more than others. Got them on my trip to Vienna. If you wanna see a walk through the art shops in Vienna, check out videos on my channel. Now, crayons. This thing I got off Temu, and so far it's good, but the downside, of course, is when you travel with your crayons, especially if they're water soluble, soft ones, it's all gonna get so this dirty, and it's just I don't know, it's been on maybe 4 flights total, and it's like this already. So I got a selection of my favorite silky crayons. They are meant to be for kids, and they are basically tempera paint sticks. For sketchbooks, I say they are perfect because they feel really like soft pastels, but unlike soft pastels, they actually cure if you leave them for a day or 2, maybe 3, if you did a really thick layer. But then they cure, and you can close your sketchbook, and the pages will not get dirty. And of course, it's much easier to use them than the pastels. Your hands also don't get dirty. They are really soft and creamy, and I have a set of 36 of them, and so 6 I only took with me. I had to really be firm with me not to take more, and in the end I can say that I did not use them too much, but every now and then. So I'm happy I did take them. Now here are the Neocolor 1s and 2s that I took with me, and again I have a much bigger collection of them, and I like both 1 and 2 because I do like to work in layers, and sometimes if I make a line, I want it to stay how it is. I do not want it to get dissolved if I apply some wet media on top. So for example, this white one I have in Neocolor 1, and it's really good for also sort of masking the areas of your sketch. Many of the crayons unfortunately got broken, and it's mostly Neo ones because I was pressing on them harder, but that's quite a common problem. I mean, for travel purposes, it's of course making it easier to take a small piece instead of a big one. But the biggest downside is that then you have to be precision drawing, because with the big one, for example, you can just move your hand more freely and make looser marks. And in Greece, I decided to buy this Stettler permanent Lumicolor, if you can probably call it crayon, and I do think that in the end it is really similar to Neocolor 1, at least for my purposes for drawing in sketchbooks. So it will not give you the same line as, let's say, acrylic marker. It will not be as opaque. So, pens and pencils. Couple I had with me, just this regular blue one and the Micron number 4. As well as this pencil, I really like to buy pencils whenever I travel to a new place, and often they are from a museum, like this one from Vienna. It has Gustav Klimt artwork on it, so whenever I use it, it just reminds me of that trip, and because I can also take it on other trips, so it's always with me. Then I bought two of these Stabilo highlighters, and they were just too cute, and they have this neutral colors. Did I use them? Yes, I did. Not as much as I thought originally I would. This jelly roll I actually got in an art shop as a present, but I must say I liked it less than the regular jelly rolls. This one seems to be less opaque. Bought 4 new micron pens, one with a felt tip pen, the other one brush, and number 8. And to continue my tradition of buying pencils, I bought this set. I mean, I would prefer to buy just one, but the price for the 4 was I think 1.5 times more than to buy them single, so I decided to buy a set and maybe give away the rest. But yeah, now every time I need a pencil, and if I reach for this one, I am reminded of this trip. So these 3 are also from Talents, and I must say local shops on Crete did have a good variety of supplies from Talents, and it's a really good Dutch art supply brand made in the Netherlands. And I got this glazing medium. It's for acrylic glazing. Then I got these 2 because I do want to try to make my own watercolors, and I'm really excited for it. And gum arabic is quite famous. You can also revive your old paints using it. Even though it says gouache, it's of course can be used for watercolor as well. And ox gall is a controversial ingredient, but I did learn that, for example, Schmincke uses ox gall in their paints to improve the flow, but it also makes the paint sink into the paper more, so I will see if I like it for my own watercolors or not. I was scared to read that ox gall will have a very distinctive smell, but to my surprise there was not much of a smell. There was some, but definitely not anything that I could not handle. I was also afraid if I can transport them because they are in glass, but in the end they travel just fine. This is how I am gonna make my own watercolors. In a local shop I got some pigments, and the prices was so good that after I bought a couple of them, I returned and bought about 4 more. So my biggest concern is if I can travel with them, because they have these signs on them. But after some research, I found out that basically this is just a precaution, and that basically means that you should not swallow it, and there might be an allergic reaction to it. But traveling with them should be fine. It's only the dangerous ones, the cobalts, the cadmiums, that you shouldn't be traveling with because they are considered to be a hazard. But for myself, I also know that I do not want to start my watercolor experiments with the more dangerous pigments that are harder to handle. I want to learn with simpler pigments, like earth pigments that I bought several bottles of, and for example ultramarine. Because of its granulating qualities, I am really curious to see how I will be able to create the granulation level that I would like. And of course, let's see how good these pigments are, because the price was relatively low. But the high price doesn't always mean that they are so expensive to make. So let's see. That is something really exciting for me to try, and if you would like me to share my process later, let me know in the comments. Now on to brushes, and I got a good selection here. These 2 I got from Temu. Must say they are quite decent quality, both of them. These ones are also from Temu. Again, cannot say anything bad about them. Used them both quite a lot. This is another one from Temu. It is supposed to be used to paint leaves and foliage, but I actually used it for abstract seascapes and landscapes to create some sort of uneven line. And these ones are all synthetic. Sometimes for a smaller sketch I like synthetic more than the natural hairs one, because with synthetic the brush doesn't hold so much water. Also had one watercolor brush specifically with a water reservoir, but I thought I'm gonna be using it on a plane, for example, but in the end I didn't. I must say, I can't even imagine how people do any water media when they are on a plane, because then you have to wait for it to dry, and depending on the flight, I mean, I guess some of the flights are longer, but then you still have to have your table open and wait for your sketch to dry. So far I don't know how to do it. Maybe one day I will figure it out. And just a simple dripper, I really like to use it for, you know, awakening my watercolors and pens, just to drip some drops. Then these tools are all for acrylics and mixed media, especially this one I like to make some interesting marks. Some people I saw use it also for watercolor as well. Flat brush. This is one of my favorite tools to make interesting marks in acrylics. This is kind of synthetic brushes that are basically the same as these watercolor ones. They are for acrylics because they go bad much faster, they go stiffer. Some parts of the paint is quite hard to wash, so they just get stiff. So for that I clearly mark the ones that I'm using for acrylics and for watercolors. Another flat one for acrylics, of course a knife. And this one actually I use for watercolor. It should be here to draw right into the wet watercolor wash, and it creates interesting lines. You can use a knife for it, but I prefer to use something like this, a pen. And of course a toothbrush, again to make some sort of interesting marks and splashes, and one small mop brush. So as you can see, my acrylic set was quite smaller than the watercolor set. And in the end, this is what I did. I decided I will focus on watercolors for these 2 months, maybe with occasional acrylics if I feel like it. And of course, a water bottle spray can be very useful for many things. This is something that I actually bought on Crete, but of course they are plastic, so the color sinks in and stays, so that makes it not very usable for watercolor actually, but I plan to still be using it for acrylics. What I liked about it is that it is actually stackable like this. It's not the easiest to stack it. So, and then you have something like this. They are light and easy to take with you on a plane, so I decided to bring them home. Some miscellaneous things. This thing is basically a sponge, but you need to re-wet it. Some clippers, of course, for sketchbooks. These are empty half pens from the paints that I actually finished on a trip. This thing is a brush holder, and I got 2 of them. Must say they are really convenient. Just put them on your table. This is, maybe you will recognize it. It's a toothpick essentially. And we got some toothpicks that were the wrong size, so I am repurposing them to mix my watercolors sometimes. You know, sometimes from a tube the watercolor comes out a bit of gum arabic first and then the paint, so you need something to mix it, and I believe this works just great. Of course, painter's tape. I've used quite some. I had more with me. These are actually they come together with the toothpicks. It's a toothpick case. They open flat. It was like this basically, but I keep them because they make for great travel palettes. They are really easy to take with you. They will not take much space. They are light, but they give you quite some mixing space. So for watercolors this is perfect. And I did end up using them quite a lot. Small glue, small scissors. This thing also, it is like for canapes or something like that. Don't even remember where I got it, but also to make some interesting marks with acrylics. This is a cap from something, from some jar that I don't remember which one it was, but I also use it as a very light, nice palette. This thing needs no introduction, and these are tools for acrylics. In Greece, I also bought these cool stickers. And I really like that they come in this plastic case, and it makes it really convenient to use for reading. You actually can put them on a page like this, and then it's very handy. They don't get lost or anything, so I bought even 2 of those. Now the last part are the sketchbooks, of course, and as you can see I took quite some, but wait till you see how many I bought and how many I actually filled in. I didn't take this many sketchbooks because I thought I'm gonna need all of them. I'm gonna fill every single page. This is how much I need. My first thought, of course, is how many I can take with me realistically. But my other thought is what kind of paper do I want to use? What kind of variety do I need? So most of the sketchbooks I took, they are cotton paper, specifically for watercolors. And this is actually a system I came up with. I take two thick cardboards, basically repurposed old sketchbooks that are now finished. It's a type of sketchbook with a tear of paper, and then I cover it with some abstract acrylic painting, also give it a layer of varnish, and then I just sewn these ones, and this way it's a relatively convenient way to protect your loose papers and maybe some smaller sketchbooks as well. Also, it's really convenient if you want to have some sort of thicker surface to paint on a loose sheet of paper if you're doing it plein air, for example, but even at home if you want to be able to move it around like this. And these are handmade papers from Vienna. Didn't get to like them so much. I thought I will experiment with them a bit more, but I wasn't really drawn to them. Luckily, they do not take so much space, and this is why I took them, because if I use them, great, and if I don't, it's not such a loss. This is another handmade sketchbook. Paper is from some leaflet from back in Japan, and it is hot press paper. I wanted to experiment more with it, and this is actually acrylic ink. Then I tried experimenting with acrylics, some with acrylic markers and with crayons. So far in this specific sketchbook, I think of it as too precious because this is cotton paper, this is not cardboard. So far I don't really like much anything in it, although and if you think, what is this? Actually, with quite some of sketchbooks, I had a problem that if you paint the whole spread, the wet media goes into the other papers, and you can see here it's a little, but I put tape like this on this side, and then I can paint here without the fear of ruining other pages. So once I'm done with this page, I take the tape from here and put it on this side. So when I come to painting on these pages, this painting will be protected. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I had pages ruined just because I did not think to protect the midsection. You see, once the page is done, I right away protect it, so then I do not forget. And when I finish the sketchbooks, I can take all of them off. This is another handmade sketchbook. The stitching is very simple, and because these are thinner cotton papers, it's still convenient to use, and the cover is just repurposed from another sketchbook. I always write what kind of paper there's inside. So this is medium grain, this is cold press, and I do like this paper more for watercolors. Here I was playing with my corset that I showed you earlier. Overall, I could not grow to like the format because I'm really into abstract landscapes right now, and this vertical format didn't work for me, so I just continued to use this sketchbook for color swatching and for mixing experiments. Here I bought actually my first pigment, Caput Mortuum, and tried to make my own paint with it. Here I continued to swatch and experiment, more swatching. And in the end, I just did simple flowers, just to finish the sketchbook and be done with it. So this is actually one of those that I finished completely. This is another one that I also finished, and this format I right now love much more. It's a landscape, and again, it's handmade, and the papers are cotton, but they are thinner, so they do not bulk too much. And for the covers I used acrylics on cotton paper, also covered with a layer of varnish, and that's actually a great way for me to repurpose loose sheets of cotton paper with some work that I did not like. I just cover it with acrylics, and they make great covers. You can see they are quite thick. Again, here I wrote what kind of paper it is. It's the same one as in the previous sketchbook. And here I showed you before the charcoal pencils. This is how I like to use them. because if you use them wet on wet with watercolor, they don't smudge and they leave these really beautiful marks. Here at the end I tried some more abstract approach, like completely abstract. Here just some variegated washes. And the last page, again, just to be finished with the sketchbook, I did something really simple. Another format that I really actually like is this A6 format. Again, this is handmade from different watercolor paper. In sketchbooks like these, I really like to use to test out the colors, the color combinations, to create my own mixes. So that one got used up pretty fast. I even had some loose pages with it, but I just decided that I will be using them in the same way and then I can stitch them up later. Another watercolor sketchbook, and this time the cover is a piece of canvas, again with some abstract work. This is the paper that it has, 300 GSM rough. The first page was not very successful, so I tried to cover it with acrylics. Again, not the biggest fan of it. This is the sketch that I really like. I like the brightness of it, and I almost didn't mix the colors. So this is just magenta and royal blue. Tried to do this one in a similar fashion, but didn't really like how it turned out. And again, I struggled with the format, with the A6 format, always wanting to have the landscape. And this is something that I didn't know before the trip. Which one would I like best? The landscape, or maybe I would want the vertical one at some point. So that was good that I had both and I could experiment. Closer to the end of the sketchbook, I found the approach that I like best, to put a tape and make these small paintings. Very abstract, but I do really like them. And a variegated wash at the end, some color testing, another spread with variegated wash. Really like how this turned out. And here's some color testing to finish the sketchbook. Now another watercolor sketchbook, and this time it's 300 GSM paper but a landscape format. And here is when I was talking earlier that I got into acrylic inks right before the trip. So these covers were made with acrylic inks and some varnish layer on top. So it is mostly acrylic inks and some Caran d'Ache crayons. I didn't fully finish it, but I did use a lot. And this is the last watercolor sketchbook, also handmade, and the cover is from a journal I got on Malta at the museum. It's quite thick paper, so here it was perfect. And in the end I only painted on the first page and I didn't like this work much, so I just didn't continue. So for now I'm staying with the smaller format, and I guess this handmade notebook let me know that for now this is not my format, not just yet. But it's also very thin and light, and it's the benefit that it's handmade, that you choose the size. So if you going on a trip and you think I might want something bigger, you can easily take this thing. And then if you don't, then you don't. And these are actually specifically acrylic sketchbooks, also handmade. This one is with colored paper. I didn't use it too much, I must say, in the end, but I want to experiment with it more. Another handmade, and this one has actually watercolor paper, 30% cotton, but in the end I just didn't love it. I just couldn't make myself love it, so I'm using it for color swatching basically. The paper does show granulation pretty well, so that's why I keep using it for swatching. But yeah, once it's done, I even consider that I will cut out the covers, because they are my own works and I like them, and maybe I will reuse them for another sketchbook. Another one with again my own artwork for the cover. Again, was really hoping that I will like this paper, and with gouache I must say I kinda like it. But with acrylics, don't know, to be honest, and I do like especially this brown one, but some way, somehow, because I was focused on watercolor, I didn't get to use this one much. But again, it's really small, and it was basically to test out if I will like sketchbooks with this kind of paper. Another one with colored paper, this time it's green. And I think I basically made 2 sketches in it. This one that I don't really like, and this one I sort of like. It's with gouache. I was testing the Talents gouache that I bought. So I might continue at some point. I really enjoyed working on a colored paper. And this is the biggest one, I think. Again, handmade for acrylics with papers of different colors. And here I must say I cannot find something that I would really like. I think this is the work that I enjoy in it, and this is the second one that I liked. But the rest, I just couldn't find my way. I think this is the third one that I liked. And the rest was just not really working for me. But because I was so focused on watercolors, I did not pursue this further. I think this was the heaviest of all the sketchbooks, and I made it even before I was planning a trip. So I think if I knew I'm going on a trip, it would be just 1/4 of this size. Now what you see here are all the sketchbooks that I bought, and most of them are art creations from Talents, because some way, somehow in Greece the price was really good, much better than I can get at home in Sofia or via Amazon. So I will say that I started with just one to see if I even like the format, if I like the paper, and I actually finished it. It's a very low pressure sketchbook, but it does allow for many experiments with all kinds of wet media. Dry, wet, basically almost anything goes. You cannot create too many layers in it, but it is just enough to experiment quickly without thinking too much, and that's what I really want sometimes, and that's where usually the best ideas come from. So when I noticed that in about a couple of weeks I went through half of these sketchbooks, I decided to, of course, stock up on them and bring some home. I know that I also like the square format, and I got a Sakura one in this format. And of course 2 more of the sketchbooks that I actually finished. I also wanted to try a bigger format of the same Art Creations sketchbook, but some way, somehow this big format is just a little too big. Like I would prefer it if it was standard A5. I did go through quite some of the pages, again making quick sketches, but I guess because it requires more time and attention and the format is just a little taller than I'm used to, I could not get myself to like it, even though like the paper is the same. I can do the same as in a small one, but some way, somehow there were very few sketches that I actually liked here. But I will definitely keep using it and keep trying to find my way in it, because I do like the paper. I do like that anything goes in it. And on my last day, actually, in a local shop, when I was buying these sketchbooks, I actually saw another Dutch brand, Kangaroo. Never heard of it before, but this format actually, if you compare it with Art Creations, it's a little bigger, and I actually really like this format. And I checked the paper. The paper looked exactly the same as Art Creations, and I started working in one of these sketchbooks. The price was also almost the same as for Art Creations, so I'm like, I might as well give it a try. It was less than €3, I think, and I will say the paper does behave exactly the same. I haven't seen this brand anywhere else, unfortunately, maybe in the Netherlands, but otherwise not even online I can get more. So once these are done, I'm done, and that's why I convinced myself that I need 2 of them. This is another sketchbook that I bought in a local art supply store, and I was initially attracted to the thickness of the inner pages, but I must say the sketchbook itself was a bit not really well made. Here in the creases there was quite some glue, and you had to basically go through every crease and straighten it out. And the paper itself, it's not the best for watercolor, and for acrylics it's also buckles a lot. So I at some point decided I will just do some collage in it. Gouache the same, it just buckles, so it does not take wet media very well. I did a couple of works in it that I actually loved. So here you can see there was the glue, and I had to basically tear a page a little bit. Another sketchbook that was, I think, about €1, but this one has a very soft and very thin paper. But I got it mostly to make collage papers. And yeah, it was only €1.64. It's 50 pages of 100 GSM. A Canson sketchbook with 180 GSM. I really needed white paper. In all of my sketchbooks, I did not have just a simple cardboard white paper, so I could test my colors. So that was the main purpose of it. Used it maybe 1/3. And here is a similar sketchbook by, I think, a local brand with some black paper. 140 GSM, €240.